Morning guys. Right, there's going to be a little bit of a different video today. I've been thinking of doing it for a while and never been bothered, but I've been watching a couple of videos this last few days and other people are sort of hitting on what I've been thinking. In fact, one of the guys exactly the 3 questions what people need to be asking themselves, and I can't believe he's come up with exactly the same 3 as I was discussing with a mate of mine a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just going to give my take on it all with Philippines. So just before I start, 'cause I'm going to make a cup of coffee, then I'll sit down, but I just wanted to show you this. So look how much water's coming out of this now from aquaponics. It's really good flow. Now what's happened here, I had a string up, as you can see there's a bit of it here. I had 2 strings across here holding up all these vine tomatoes. Well, both strings have snapped under the weight. Now I do have some wire, steel wire I could use and bring them back up, but they've sort of survived the fall, and obviously you can see flowers here. I don't really want to disturb them again, so well, look at the size of that pepper now in there. Just that little tiny plant, and look at pepper. I'm going to do a little bit of swapping around, take out these normal small plants and my radishes which are growing. I'll move them down somewhere else, and I think I'm going to leave it for now, because what's happened, the reason there's more water, these baskets have tipped forward. I mean, you can actually see there's a little bit of a drip coming out there, you see now when I move that up, because the root system is getting quite, how can I say, it's starting to block it up, but it's only this first one. So I'm thinking of taking that one out, because this is only actually a small one anyway, and put a normal plant in that to allow it to run through. But I think because what's happened is, because these have tipped forward, it's given more of a channel. The water down here is not as deep anymore in these, it's running through better. So, but it is just that first one there. So I'm going to do that a little bit later, because I don't want to waste any water. I am actually doing a water exchange up pond. You can see water levels going down. I'm just pumping it at the moment into this area here, because I can't be bothered to drag the hose out. You can see it's all full of water here and over there. So, because I was a little bit apprehensive, because there's at least 3 of these koi in here pregnant. So I really didn't want to stress them, but it's just desperate need of a clean, so I'm doing it. So I'm going to grab a coffee, guys, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the Philippines and what to expect, because I want to try and bosh a few of these myths what people talk about and ratify what some others do. And I think it'll be interesting for anybody who's planning coming out here in near future or not, just to give my take on things and call out bullshit when I hear it. So let me make a coffee, guys, and I'll be straight back. Cheers. Well, hi guys, right, I'm back again. Right, what I actually want to talk about today, as I mentioned before, I've seen several videos over the last week, 10 days, hitting on a couple of things here, what you need to watch out for in the Philippines, and the good and the bad, you know. Now, of course, everyone has their own opinion, everybody. Now, like I said, the guy I saw the other day, I've actually tried to find video again this morning, but I can't. It just popped up on my feed and I watched it. And I remember his first name, but I can't remember the second part. But I don't remember what channel we're called anyway, so bit of a waste of time. But it's on 3 main topics, and those exact 3 main topics I was discussing in a bar with a mate of mine. It's probably well before Christmas, actually. And I thought at the time I might just do a vlog on it, you know, let people know what my opinions are, because I've got nothing to gain. A lot of people, and I mean, there's vloggers out there talking bullshit because they're getting people hooked to watch them for whatever reason, because they can live on $1 a month, you know, this type of crap. So I just want to put some of that to bed, and I'll give my honest opinion. Just for info, I'm smoking my IQOS. I stopped smoking last June, so whether this still counts as smoking or not sure, just nicotine. And I've got my coffee. So now I'll start off with number one, and this is actually what this other guy started off with. I really can't believe. In fact, I know he's on another island. If he were near me, I'd swear to God he must have been sat behind me listening. But I am going to just touch on this one. I'll try not to drone on too long on this. But one of the number one problems here, the expats go on about the scamming and the girls taking for all the money and this and that and skin tax and a foreigner, you're always going to lose an argument and blah blah blah. There's all these things. Some are true, some aren't, and a lot of it is how you handle it yourself. So for me, number one here is you see the guys getting scammed, and they get scammed a lot, and a lot of guys get scammed. Now, I've seen vlogs online where guys have lost $1,000, $50,000. There was even one on a channel, he reckons he's lost $1 million. Now, do you believe that? Or again, is he just trying to build his channel up because it's a bit of a shock factor? But I mean, any guy who's sending over during COVID, I think this was, because he couldn't get here, almost $1 million for a girlfriend he's met online, to build him a house, to buy him a car and all these kind of things, and then when he gets here no one meets him at airport and he can't track her down and blah blah blah. So, tough luck, that's his problem. What an absolute tool to do that. So like I said, number one here for me definitely is yourself. That's the biggest danger in this country, 100%. Now, like I said, a lot of guys go on about watch out for these girls, they're all scammers. They're only scammers because foreign guys are complete idiots and think with their dicks and not their brain. I mean, we're all born with some grey matter between his ears. A lot of these guys have got to start using it, Now, I know one guy personally, well actually two, who've been ripped off, so I'm not speaking from experience for me, but I'm speaking about guys who I actually know. I mean, God, one lost 2 houses, a bar, car, absolutely everything. I'll not go into ins and outs of it, that's unimportant. But what I'm trying to say is, a lot of guys here will blame the girl, whether she's just met online, whether it's a bar girl, or whether it's just a sweet girl he's bumped into in a shopping mall. Now, the latter one, the third one there, not so common, But when you start meeting girls online, or bar girls, you've got to expect something, because as a foreigner, whether you're rich or not, you're looked at as a foreigner. Now, I honestly believe a lot of these girls, don't get me wrong, there's players, and they're playing 10 guys at the same time. But they're doing it for one reason. One, they want a better life, they want some money, and they think you can afford it. So, I mean, I've seen guys in bars here come on holiday, or maybe they've come from overseas, or they're from other parts of the Philippines and they go to a beach resort for a weekend or whatever. You see them throwing money about. Now, nothing wrong with that. When I used to come on holiday here, I always used to tip big. Because you're on holiday, that's sort of expected in your own mind. And other people, the bar staff or whatever, are sort of expecting it. But guys bring it on themselves. They start flashing money around, they're going to be a target immediately. So I'm trying to hold back on a few things here because I don't want to piss people off. But at the end of the day, the number one problem in this country is yourself. If you don't... Look, I know weddings, people get married here. I've just seen one the other day. He's 70-year-old, she's 22. I mean, come on, guys. Think about it. Is it love? Of course it's not. Maybe on his side. On the other side? No. Now, maybe he knows that and he just wants companionship. That's fine. But I don't see why you'd get married. Get a girlfriend. Stick with that. Go out, meet different people. It's just... To me, that just seems completely crazy. So all I would recommend on that subject is, if you're meeting online, if you're meeting bar girls where there's bar fines, I know some people it works for them. Of course it does. I'm not saying everybody and every girl or every guy. But you've just got to sit back, use that bit of grey matter between your ears and just have a serious think about it. What's the benefits for you? What's the benefits for her? Make a list. yes and no's and see which list is bigger, you know. So all I'm trying to say is think with your brain a little bit more than your dick, and a lot of these guys need to stop blaming scammers, the girls, because they've allowed themselves to do it. It's actually really as simple as that. If these guys weren't so stupid, they wouldn't get scammed, and there'd be a lot less of it. So that's lesson number one, end of. Right, now, other problem I see here, the second one, is obviously everybody goes on about it, so I'm not going to drone on about this one. Get some health insurance. I don't care how much money you've got in bank, even if you've got insurance, a lot of these hospitals, you still have to pay in advance. Now, I read an article, this was right at the beginning of COVID, a guy got it here. I can't remember if it was Australian or American, but he got COVID, he was in a bad way, into hospital, I think he was in Makati actually. He's got insurance, no problem. But he went in and he had to start paying first in cash, and he can claim it back later. It cost him over $20,000 in the end. And I think his insurance only covered around 12. So he had to pay $8,000 out of his own pocket. So be aware of that. Check your insurance if you have it. I wouldn't come here if I was old without it, that's for sure. If you think you might need a hospital. I know you can't guarantee anything, you know, but just bear that in mind, guys. It can cost you a hell of a lot of money here. It really can. So to me, that's number two. Right. Number three, and I think it's just as important as point number one. Start thinking. Again, this is a bit of a touchy subject because everybody has their own ideas. I'm just going to tell you again from not my personal experience, but a couple of guys I know personally, and guys I research, well not research, I see online where these guys are actually admitting how they were ripped off. And that's one of the things here is land. Now, a couple of channels I do watch, they've touched on it. Now, again, I've seen a few other channels where they're touching on it, and everybody has a different opinion, but the law's the law. Now, if you go on the channels here for the government, it is very, very vague. To me, it can be interpreted a number of ways, and some things you can't even find. And as an example, one of the things what's very difficult to get the information on is if you marry a Filipina, happily ever after, you buy a house and some land, and she dies. Now, can you stay in that house or not? Now, my understanding from what I've read online on the official websites is no, but yes. Now, if there's children involved, of course, there's absolutely no problem. No children involved, no. That land, if the wife dies, will go to her siblings or family or something like that. So in one respect, you've got to hope she has a good family and they won't boot you off. Now, that's something I'd be very, very careful of, because they might be really nice, but when it comes down to money, they can turn very quickly. Now, the other thing I want to touch on here is, and this is because I saw this online the other day, there's a lot of debate now. If you have a girlfriend or a wife and you buy land in their name and then you lease the land. Now, again, the laws, I'm not going to say 100% clear on this, but I can tell you what I've been told and what I've read online and what I've seen from other guys. Now, you meet a girl online and she lives in the province, and her family or friends or just somebody is selling some land. It's only 100 peso a square metre. Okay, I want to buy it. So let's just say it's 1,000 square metre. So money wise, it's nothing, you know, a few $1,000s. So you give her the money, she buys that land in your name. Then you have a plan to build a house on it. So you can then, even though it's not absolutely legal because she's your girlfriend, but that's something very hard to prove, you can then lease that land, or you can lease a part of it and build a house on that land. The house is yours, but on her land. And then you can do a 25-year lease up to 50 years or whatever it is, a fixed amount. Now, a lot of guys do that and pay that in advance. So they agree for 50 years and they agree And he doesn't really give her anything, it's all on paper, right? Which again is actually illegal. Now, the big point in this is, if you then marry that girl, that agreement is null and void. Now that is 100%, and I've read that on the government website. So that lease becomes null and void. Now you're married, you can be classed as common law. Now again, if she decides to kick you off there, she can. Now you can go through the courts, and if you get a good judge and who follows the word of the law, you will get a percentage. Now I read somewhere it becomes a 60-40 split in her favour, which to be honest is not a bad result when you look at other countries like Europe and so on. Now that's if you get a good judge. Now you've also got to remember these cases can drag on for years, and when I mean years, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. You know, the lawyers will absolutely bleed you dry, and I think at the end of the day it'll just come down to, look, I've invested $20, $40, $60,000. It's just not worth it anymore, and you walk away. You know, as a foreigner, I mean, I'm married. We've got his house here, everything. I mean, in a way, I'm sort of in the same boat, but I trust her 100%, which is why everything's in her name. Now we have a condo which is in joint name. She wanted me just actually to put that just in my name, but to me, we're married until the day we die, so I don't see any problem. So it's in joint name, but I am still covered. So if anything happened, there is a condo there, it can't be sold. So you've got to think of these issues. Now, would I recommend to everybody, don't buy rent? No. I mean, it's worked out brilliant for me, especially with the way prices have gone here. I mean, this garden you're looking at now, this was a separate plot. I think we paid 8,200 peso a square metre for this. This village, this subdivision we live in now, anything up to 19,000 a square metre. So we're 100%, we've doubled as money on it. Now, it's only on paper. It's not in the bank to go and spend on beer, but it's there. And one day, if we do decide to sell up, we will have made some money, which will always help towards retirement. So, yeah, it does work, and I would say it probably works more than it doesn't. But I get really pissed. I used to feel sorry for these guys online, but now I just get pissed off with them because I just think, what a fucking complete numpty you must be. But like I said, just watch out for that one, guys. If you buy land with your girlfriend in her name, you lease it. If you do end up getting married, it's null and void. And the other thing you've got to do, if you split up or anything, or she dies, you've also got to go and downgrade your visa ASAP to tourist. Now, under a tourist, you shouldn't actually have bank accounts. Now, I know people do, and you can find a way around it. And everything's good until somebody snitches on you, then it's not so good. So just remember all these little things just to keep yourself safe. And all I'm going to say is, think with your head, not your balls, if you know what I mean. Now, I'm going to touch on a fourth subject here because I'm only up to 15 minutes, but the coffee's going cold, so just a minute. There's a I'm not going to set the name of this guy, but there's several channels actually. Now these guys have got thousands and thousands of followers, letting guys know how you can live here on $500 a month. Okay, right. Let's put this myth to bed once and for all. If you've got a place to live and it's free and you're not paying any rent, could you live on $500 a month? Yes you could. Okay, rice, dried fish. You don't drink, you don't go out drinking, you don't go out for food, you don't have a car, you don't have a motorbike, you're just using trikes and jeepneys to get around. You will survive on 500, and I'm going to say just because price of electricity. I mean, we've got a 4-bedroom house here, it's quite big. Now we've not used air conditioning for God knows how long because weather's been quite cool. So I would say in a year we only use air conditioning in the height of the summer and not every night because our house is open plan, as you've maybe seen in other videos. Our windows are open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, because we have security bars and fly screens. So we actually get a really good flow of air through the house. Not so much in the bedroom because you've shut the door, but we've got 2 fans in our bedroom and it's good enough. In fact, I've got a bad bag now from fan blowing on it last week. So, but our electricity bill's still okay. The pond, the pump's running, not a big issue. I've got grow lights, not a big issue. We have security lights around the house, again, not a big issue. Yes, we have an electric oven. We don't use so much, we use mainly the gas. But our bills still run, let me just get this right, around $300 a month on a normal quiet month, away from summer. So, well, I said there's no air conditioning running, but the price of electricity here now is absolutely crazy. Gas and water, not worth a wank really, they're not worth really thinking about. Especially if you're a single guy, you're not going to cook a lot anyway. But then again, it's going to eat into your budget because if you're thinking of eating out. So, $500, like I said, I'm going to say yes, but you're really going to live poorly. And I mean, very poorly. And is that what you want to do, retire and live like that? No. Now, I'll jump up to $1,000, and again, if your house is paid for, or your condo, you don't have that expense and you don't have a car, yeah, $1,000 you'll live on as a single guy. Again, not extravagant, but you will be able to live. You'll be able to go out and have a few beers a couple of times a week and eat out now and again. You will get by. Now again, it depends where you live. This is why I've never touched on all this shit before, because Manila is different to Cebu, although they are sort of becoming almost parallel now. But to living in the province, whether you're in Mindanao, Mindoro, Palawan, whatever, or just in Luzon, in one of the provinces, you know, I mean, as an example, I drink in a place called Eastwood. It's 5 kilometres away. I go and get a bucket of beer there. It's 600 peso, so it's $12 for 6 beers. So $2 a beer. San Mig Light, not a bad price, especially by Western comparison. It's still okay. But I can go to a local bar, which is only 1.5 kilometres away, owned by an Aussie guy, really nice guy. I'll not mention him, but because it's not actually in Manila or a centertainment area, he's 350 peso for 6 beers. So half price. So around $7 for 6 beers. So, like I said, everywhere is different. And again, if I want a meal in Manila, I'm going to pay twice the price as if I do it locally. So, $1,000 in Manila without any rent, I would say it's on a par with living in the province on $500. You know, yes, you'll live, but you're going to pay a lot more for things and you're not going to have as much of it. So I think once you start getting over that $1,000, again with no rent, yeah, you should start to be okay. My honest opinion, around Manila area, and I don't live in Manila, I'm on the outskirts, but they class it as a province, Rizal. I think what you need here to live a comfortable life, but again, not extravagant. If you've got 2,000 US coming in and no rent, I think you'll do okay. Like I said, you'll not be eating Wagyu steaks and shit like that, but yeah, you'll be able to go out 2 or 3 times a week, have a few beers, McDonald's, you know, a bit of Mexican food, local food, no problem. But I think you're looking at $2,000. So now, if you've got to rent a place, well, again, this is where it pisses me off with these other vloggers. They start giving prices. It depends where you live. I mean, you're going to Makati, BGC in Manila. You know, you can pay up to $2,000 a month just in rent. Where I live on the outskirts, you can get a decent house, a 3-bedroomed house. It's going to cost you $400 a month straight away. Again, it's not a bad price, but it's still $400 out of your SS check or whatever you're getting. And then you've got your electricity on top, water, gas. And one thing that people never seem to touch on here is if you live in a subdivision like I do, a gated community, you've got your weekly dues, your monthly dues. Now, it's not a lot of money. It's only 400 peso you pay per house. So it's about $8. So is it worth thinking about? Nah, not really. I mean, it's less than a night out. So, but then you've got your property taxes. Now, over there, if you see that wall there, that's the house, and that was the only plot we had. All this here is a separate plot. Now, we have built a house on it, which is I've shown before, which is now a gym. So it's not classed as a house. So we're only paying, because it's a gym, for the plot, and we pay 5,000 peso a year in property tax just for the plot. So this garden costs $100 a year. The house, because of the plot, and they're both similar sized plots, but because there's a house on it and you're living in it, that's 12,000. So altogether 17,000 peso once a year in property tax. So 17,000, what's that? 30. So let's just say around $350 a year. Again, is it 350? Yeah. Anyway, around $350. So 17,000 peso. 350, 380, maybe around $380 a year. Again, not a lot of money, but if you're coming here on $500, that's basically 1 month's check gone, you know. So the other 11 months you've got less. So you've got to be careful about things like that, because electricity and property tax can kill you. It really can. So to me, guys, they're main 3 things to check for. And my advice would be, if you're wanting a Filipino girlfriend, yeah, meet some online if you want, arrange so you've got something lined up when you get here. But I think you do a lot better off just coming here for a holiday, stay out of the girly bars, go to normal areas where there's just bars and restaurants, and you'll meet them. There's thousands of them, you know, and a lot of them want to talk. They want to learn English, they want to speak in English. So, and again, there's a lot of things I want to say, but I better not. It'll piss people off, and maybe even YouTube. But like I said, guys, just be careful, think with your head, and you won't get scammed. Because I really get sick of hearing, I was scammed by this girl, this friend of mine was scammed by this girl. If you've got half a brain cell in your head, you should be able to work that out very early. Right, guys, the coffee's going cold, and I might add on to this again, not today, because I'm doing pond. But I've got a few other issues I'd like to talk about, what a lot of foreigners aren't really aware of, and I think they need to be. What I will just say here as well, in the 4 years I've lived here permanently, I was coming before, but I was still working overseas, so it was just vacations coming here. How prices have gone up here, and I'm not kidding, on some things it's almost trebled, and I know it's happened all over the world, but we used to do a weekly shop, and we'd spend maybe $100, let's say as an average per week shopping. Now that $100, I'm not kidding, is over 200 if we bought the same stuff. Even us, we've cut a lot of things out. One thing, the beef here is crap, and before, when it was cheap, it was okay. Now it's just not worth the money. But things like pork have trebled in prices. A quick example here, onions. Onions used to be around 50 peso a kilo. They're now 600, $12 a kilo. So be warned, you know. I would, any foreigner who's never been here, I would come for a holiday first and just check it out before you do anything. And please, guys, don't send money to girls you've never even met, and you won't get scammed. Alright, guys, I'll catch you later. Cheers, bye bye.